Welcome back to the shop. I'm JC with J&E Eclectics. In today's video, I'm going to break down one of the biggest pet peeves I run into from a custom apparel shop standpoint, and how you as either a customer can avoid that and make sure you get your order accepted, or you as another print shop can weed through the headaches to get that final product ready to your customers. In other words, in the famous words of Jerry Maguire, help me help you. Alright, so basically there's a number of steps you should follow if you're a print shop and you're trying to get a quote out to a customer, or you're the customer and you're trying to get a quote for yourself. The biggest headache I end up with is a customer will come to us, they've seen a video or they follow us on Instagram, or they heard about us through word of mouth, and they're like, you know what, I need some shirts for my business, or I want to start a clothing apparel line and I'd like to order a few shirts. Okay. If you know the product you want, that's really number one. What do you actually need? Do you need a hat? What type of hat? A lot of customers are like, yeah, give me a quote for 25 hats. Well, what type of hat do you want? What are you gonna put on the hat? Do you want vinyl on the hat? Or you want a heat transfer on the hat? Do you want embroidery? Do you already have your logo ready? Is your logo ready to go on a shirt, or is it ready to be stitched on a hat? These are things that if you're a brand new customer, you may not have those answers yet. So hopefully if you're watching this video, that will help. But also if you're a print shop, ask your customers these questions. When they reach out to you and say, hey, I'm looking at putting in an order, give them, a 1 through 4, 1 through 5 breakdown of, okay, what exactly do you need? What quantity do you need it in? Do you have a logo file? Do you need me to do the artwork for you? Then break down that artwork. This is sort of a subset of that third little tip there. A lot of customers don't know what a vector file is. That doesn't mean that our customers are not intelligent. It just means they're not dealing with file types all day. To the customer, a PNG, a JPEG, a PDF, they're pretty much all the same. It's a file of something that they care about, their logo. So if you need for printing a PNG with a transparent background, make that very clear. If they don't have one and can't provide it, then be upfront with what your setup fee is going to be for that customer if you have to go and digitize that artwork yourself. So a lot of people will say, all right, you need 5 shirts, you have a JPEG logo, I've got to create a vector that's gonna, I'm gonna have to charge you $15 for my time for the graphic design. So then they may tell that customer, they may tell you if you are the customer, all right, well there's a $15 setup fee. If you're wondering what that fee is, it's the time it's going to take that shop to turn your file into ready to print or ready to embroider. So it is not an upsell, it's a legitimate cost. Some people waive it depending on, for different shops. We'll do it if you have a large order, you're ordering 10 shirts or more, and you have a rough idea of your design, we may just throw in that design. However, if we spend an hour digitizing and working on that artwork, we have to pay for that labor in the shop. So there usually is going to be a setup fee. So if you're the customer, I'll be clear with you real quick. A PNG is just like a regular picture image, but it's able to be saved without a background, meaning it's transparent. So if you had this logo, which is embroidered on a t-shirt, a JPEG would have a white square around it. And if I went to print this logo, it would be the J&E Eclectics or J&E Established in Quarantine with a white box around it, which is not what you want. So you can save a PNG transparent background. Now you can do this in Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. There's other ways to do it as well. A vector file. Some people don't know this. You can actually use PDF will save a vector file. A vector file means that image can be stretched and it will retain whatever resolution you have it at. So if you have a really small chest logo, but it's a vector file and you want to blow it up and you want to have a full frontal chest or a full back print, you are going to want a vector file. A PNG you can stretch, it'll be transparent, but then it's going to get pixelated and you're going to lose that quality. So a lot of customers will come to me and be like, hey, I need 10 shirts. What's the cost? Okay, where do you want the print? What is the print, and is it print ready? Those are questions you want to be ready to ask your customers as a shop. And as a customer, if you come to that print shop and you're like, here's my file. I've got it in PNG, I've got a PDF or an Adobe Illustrator file, whatever vector file I have, what else do you need? The more you already have to hand over, the easier it's going to be for that print shop to say, yes, and I can get you a quote really quickly. The hardest part is when people send you a JPEG of an image and say, I want this on a hat. What will it cost? Well, we've got to digitize that artwork. We've got to figure out how many stitches it is. What size do you want it? then quantity is going to play into factors. So if I haven't already gone to tip 4, we're on 4 or 5 there, the quantity of what you want is also going to be able to give you a quote faster. The price for one t-shirt is different than how much each t-shirt will cost if you're ordering 10, 15, 20, for example. So we have a general pricing breakdown that we'll give out to customers, but sometimes that confuses customers and causes more of a headache. It's like, okay, well, I have to order 25 shirts to get the price down to here. Well, yes, typically, unless your logo is not, a 12 by 12, you've got an 8 by 8 or something smaller. All those factors play in. No two customers are going to be the same. So the biggest headache there is not knowing exactly what you need when you come to the print shop. So we actually had a customer. This customer is not ready to order. They know that they want hats and they want them 3D puff. They sent us this design, and knowing, even though we were aware they weren't ready to order, we wanted to know how that design is going to look if we actually go through and test it out. So we digitized the logo for free. We're not charging them, right? They haven't placed an order. And then we went ahead and on a tester hat, just knocked out a couple examples of, this is basically satin stitch with puff. And then this is 3D puff and 3D puff stitch, basically. Very different, same logo, different looks. But basically, we did that so that we know now what size the logo would need to be to go on a hat, what the average thread count is. We're ready to be able to give a quote. You don't always have to make a sample. You could run the digitizing software and then charge by the stitch. Everybody does it a little bit differently. But for example, that customer had the file ready to go, sent it to us. We just had to digitize it. So if you're wanting embroidery work, just because you have a vector file doesn't mean that your file is stitch ready. That's a whole different process. Now, if you want to print and you've got a vector file or a high resolution PDF with no background, more than likely you're already good to go. The next thing I would say is there are different types of hats. So you've got fitted hats, snapbacks, you've got hats that have the belt in the back, low profiles, 5-panel, 6-panel foam or trucker hats. If you don't know what type of hat you want, it's going to be a little bit longer process to get a quote, because that print shop is going to have to say, okay, here's 4 styles. Do you like these? And the reason I say 4, I'm not going to show you the 100 different styles that are available. You as the customer should come prepared with that info. Or if you don't know, make sure you're clear up front with that. Because there's something called analysis paralysis, meaning if I give you 50 different options, you'll never choose. You're going to be overwhelmed with how many choices there are because you just wanted a hat. And if you just wanted a hat because you saw a trucker hat or a baseball cap style hat, that's what you should come in with and say, yeah, I actually saw somebody wearing a baseball cap. Or give us an example. Then we can narrow down the selection and show you those types of hats, for example. The other thing would be know your quantity, which I mentioned before. And then for you print shops out there, and this is really important, so focus in. Do not be afraid to fire that customer. I know, like, alarms are going off right now. What are you talking about? We're here for the hustle. We're here to grind. We're here to make money. You're absolutely right. But your time is valuable. And if a customer is going to come to you and need 100 different changes, they don't have their files ready, and they're not willing to pay for that time it's going to take to do the graphic design or that setup fee. Why is there a setup fee? I'm already ordering 2 shirts from you. Well, you didn't have a design ready. I had to make that design. Once that design's ready, I can print you 100 shirts, right? But there's a cost for that time. And I'm not saying that you got to fire every troublesome customer, right? In most businesses, everyone's heard the customer is always right. In custom prints or specialty prints, that's not necessarily the case. Now, that might be another alarm bell going off. Yes, you want to do everything you can to please the customer, to make sure that they're happy and they're satisfied. But the customer, if they're not aware of this market, of this field, you can lead them astray, and then you're on the hook for either a bad review or that customer not having a good experience. For example, if a customer tells you, here's my budget, I need you to print me these types of tank tops. And if you send them a really low quality garment or a terrible print because it's exactly what they wanted, but you could have made that artwork a little bit better by just saying, you know what, this file isn't good enough to print. It needs to be a vector. I need to improve the graphic. You could have fixed that for them for a $15, not upsell, but a $15 setup fee so that you have the right artwork, and then you send them the better print. So what I mean is, by firing the customer, if the customer is unwilling to negotiate or pay for the time and what the work you're doing is actually worth, it isn't worth the headache. There's going to be 20 other customers out there who will work with you or will take that advice. So I've had customers, don't get me wrong, who are like, hey, my cat took a turd that was in a funny shape. Can you print that on a shirt? Yeah. Yes, we can. Send us the image and we'll print it for you. That's not an issue. But don't be afraid to use your expertise and guide them if they're new. A lot of people, especially since the pandemic, are just starting out, launching their own businesses. Small businesses all over the world are popping up. And they're like, you know what? I need merch. I need hats. I need shirts. Guide them to the right products that you know through your experience are going to be higher quality or longer lasting for them or more appealing. Don't go for the cheapest, lowest cost so that you can stretch your dollars out and make more money, right? Think quality first. You can't sacrifice quantity for quality. All right, guys, thank you for stopping by J&E Eclectics for another custom video. In today's video, we went over a couple of headaches that you can avoid if you're the customer or if you're the print shop by just having your artwork and your needs completely ready. So follow the steps we outlined in this video. And if you need any custom apparel, embroidery, DTF, direct-to-film, or DTG, hit us up at J&E Eclectics at jeeclectics.com, on Instagram at je_eclectics, or right here on YouTube at J&E Eclectics. So again, to help me help you, if you're the customer, follow those tips to make sure you're streamlining your quote. It's much easier. And if you're the print shop, follow the guidelines that I've set forth and give that information right away to your customer so they can help you help them. And if you're watching this video and you were already subscribed, thank you for the love. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that like and that subscribe button, that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.